unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, officially listed as questionable with a lower left leg injury he suffered in the third quarter of Game 2. The injury, it's not mysterious, but it is complicated. Here's KP and his coach, Joe Mazzulla.
Are you optimistic?
I am, of course. I have to be. I'm optimistic, and as I said, I will do everything I can to be out there tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see.
It's a serious injury, and at the end of the day, our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken a decision to play out of his hands.
All right, so how they adjust without Porzingis, if indeed that is where they wind up, could wind up deciding these NBA Finals. Look at the plus-minus numbers. When KP has been on the floor in this series, 44 minutes, they're plus 25, 52 minutes off. They are a flat even. The injury is a torn medial retinaculum, which allows dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon. I said that because people suggested I wouldn't be able to. Let me bring Brian Windhorst into the conversation here. Windman, you're there. Help us. What exactly is going on with Porzingis?
It's a very rare injury. There's almost no record of it happening in the NBA. So that's very little to know exactly how NBA players will respond to this, much less people who are 7'3" tall. When this injury is severe, people are reduced to having to wear walking boots. He was not in a walking boot yesterday, so take that for whatever it's worth. However, after he suffered this injury in the fourth quarter of Game 2, they said it was the third quarter, but I don't know. It looked to me like he got hurt in the fourth quarter, but he was really not able to move that well up and down the court. The Celtics had to call a timeout to get him off the court. So I think that the Mavericks are as mystified as everybody else. They're going to have to wait and see what he looks like potentially in pregame warmups to see if he can play. But this will be a big challenge potentially for Al Horford. Al Horford has been the starter throughout this 9-game winning streak in the postseason, but Porzingis has been a huge piece, as that plus-minus showed. And the big thing with Horford in this postseason, and really throughout the regular season, when he plays 30 minutes or less, he's very effective. He's able to use a lot of energy coming out and defending on the perimeter. He's obviously a basket defender still at his late 30s. But when he plays over 30 minutes, which frankly, if Porzingis can't go or is reduced, he's going to have to, his production dips significantly. And we are in the tightest window in this finals where we've got 2 games in 3 days. So that's something to watch if the Porzingis fall out if he can't go.
That's right. In a series filled with lengthy breaks, they play Game 3 tonight and Game 4 on Friday night. So just the 1 day in between. All right, let's put this in as plain English as we possibly can. The absence of Kristaps Porzingis, if he's either unable to play or unable to be effective in these NBA Finals, would mean what?
The door's open for Dallas. And you could say the door's been open for Dallas because it's a series and anything can happen in a series, but the absence of Kristaps Porzingis, or even Kristaps Porzingis, in my opinion, being limited or being slightly hobbled, the door is wide open for Dallas. They can win these 2 games at home, potentially snag some at Boston. Listen, when we talked about Kristaps Porzingis, his offense was amazing. He was a mismatch with everybody that guarded him, but his defense was a separator. His defense was a difference maker. The way he's able to backpedal, block a Kyrie Irving floater that we've seen Kyrie make over countless defenders, sprint back in transition, protect from lobs. This play in transition, what happened when he got injured and when he was hobbled? A lob pass in transition. That was a play. You have to imagine if you're Dallas and Kristaps Porzingis is hobbled, you're attacking the paint and you're looking for lobs, which is something that they struggled with so far in Games 1 and Game 2.
So this is what you're talking about there. That was without Porzingis on the floor. They suddenly were able to go back to that element of their offense that was so effective for them. There's the play in particular where he wasn't able to get back. So this is a difference, potentially difference-making. Would you agree that this could, is it overstating it for me to say this could decide who wins the NBA championship?
This could definitely swing the series. You look at Kristaps Porzingis and what he's able to do in Game 1, his impact on both sides of the floor. Obviously, offensively, defensively, shooting a mid-range shot, which we think is a separator for sure. But I think if you look at what this does to Dallas, it gives them confidence, right? You're going to face Al Horford for 30-plus minutes. If I'm Kyrie, I'm trying to get in my bag. I'm trying to find him early in the game, make him tired, put him in the action, similar to what the Boston Celtics have done to Luka Doncic. You have to wear him out and you have to get a great night from Kyrie Irving. And this is the series tonight. This is the game that kind of decides what's going to happen, and I think Dallas is going to win this game tonight.
All right, so we're going to get deeply into this in a variety of different ways, but this is not the only injury involving a very important player in this series. And because of the Porzingis news yesterday, this other one kind of flew under the radar, Windy, but share for everyone in case they missed it, the other major injury news yesterday.
Yeah, our Tim McMahon and Malika Andrews reported that Luka Doncic needed to get a numbing shot in his chest, in his rib cage, because of that thoracic contusion that he suffered amidst Game 1, which meant he had to get numbed up. He really kind of ran out of gas in the fourth quarter of that game. I'm not sure, if that was related to the numbness wearing off, but he's expected to need that shot again tonight. And so, he's numbers, but he put up good numbers early in that game. So, how effective he is and how that shot affects him is something that is also a factor going into Dallas's best player in this series.
All right, so let's talk, Windy, because I'll let you say it because you said it to me this morning on the call so well. Kristaps Porzingis, potentially not in there in the middle of the floor. Luka Doncic, aching, hurting, taking a shot to get going. What does all of that point to?
This is screaming Kyrie Irving, Kyrie Irving, Kyrie Irving. And the Mavericks are calling out for him to break out of this mini slump in Games 1 and Games 2 where he hasn't been effective from the outside, hasn't been able to get space from the inside, and frankly, hasn't even been his normal self on defense where he's getting eaten up. They badly, badly need him to step forward and deliver a huge game to remove some pressure from Luka and frankly take advantage of Boston's centerpiece defensively potentially being hobbled or out. That's just there's no option for the Mavericks to elevate their play other than for Kyrie to elevate his.
No, and he knows it. Before we get into it here, let's hear from him. This was Kyrie on the off day talking about what he said to his teammate Luka Doncic, knowing that Kyrie, needs to give him more.
Yeah, well, it started with me. Just telling my hermano, I got to play better for him alongside him. And, in order for us to, accomplish our goal, just letting him know that, it's my fault, taking accountability for not playing particularly well.
What did you hear there? Why did you start to giggle when he said hermano?
My hermano is crazy, but I think he understands what's at stake here. He understands that he has to be better. He's the only one on the team that's won a championship outside of their head coach, right?
Yeah.
He's been in big moments. He's hit big shots. He holds himself to a high standard, and he understands that Luka is hurting. He's getting shots before the games, and you're letting your team down, and he's going to deliver tonight.
Did you roll your R in hermano?
Hermano.
That was nice.
Well, si quieres, podemos hablar español toda la programa.
Okay, excuse me, Greeny.
No, we'll have a different conversation. We're going to do this for Deportes a little later in the day. But here, let's get to the bottom of this here. Okay, here's one of the things I love to do is give the fans something to watch early in the game, something to zero in on. So I gave Andrea a homework assignment. I said, I want you to give everybody something they should be watching for early in this game, right off the jump, to tell them whether Kyrie is going to have a big night or not.
His aggression. He has to be aggressive to start the game. And you know what comes to mind? What happened Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals? Kyrie took it personal that Ant said, I've got Kyrie. Anthony Edwards said, I've got Kyrie before that series started. And Kyrie came out in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals and was on fire. He was looking for his shot. He had incredible ball control, which we haven't seen him have in Game 1 or Game 2 of the Celtics series. And he was constantly looking and hunting his shot. Floaters, mid-range, three-point shots. He wasn't looking to pass. He wasn't looking to get the ball to Luka. He was aggressive. His ball control, how decisive he was with the ball in his hands, we haven't seen that in Game 1 or Game 2. So from the start of the game, Kyrie has to be aggressive. He has to look to get downhill and continue to play in attack mode. I don't think he's been in attack mode yet in this series.
What do you expect from Kyrie Irving tonight?
I expect him to be very aggressive. First of all, he said mi hermano, right? So he's letting them know, I'm going to be with you early and often. I'm going to get into the paint. There's no Porzingis. And for him to be successful, I think it's threes early. I think it's floaters early. And I think it's putting Al Horford in as many actions as possible.
The biggest thing you mentioned, there's no Porzingis, right? When Kristaps Porzingis is on the floor, Dallas's field goal percentage in the restricted area is in the 40s. When Kristaps Porzingis is off the floor so far in this series, Dallas in the restricted area, their field goal percentage is in the 70s. They're shooting almost 30% better in the paint with Kristaps Porzingis off the floor. That's something Kyrie Irving has to have in mind because he's so good in the paint. He's so good with his mid-range. CJ, what'd you say about mid-range?
So mid-range is the shot separator, especially for the playoffs.
Winman, I've had it suggested to me that tonight is the biggest night of Kyrie Irving's career. What do you say to that?
Well, you're talking to somebody who wrote a book about the 2016 title, so you're not going to hear that from me. I think Game 7 on the road against arguably the greatest regular season team in history might qualify a little higher, but obviously it's his biggest game as a Mav. I'll afford you that.
Here's what I will say, because obviously he has played in bigger games. But Legler, when I brought this up to him yesterday, made what I thought was an interesting variation on that, which is if that series had gone the other way that you covered and you're talking about, the legendary 7-game win over the 73-win Warriors, the world wouldn't have blamed Kyrie. If this thing goes sideways tonight, if Luka is hobbled and all that and Kyrie continues to play like this, a lot of the blame for this loss will fall on him. So in that regard, maybe it's not the biggest game he's ever played in, but it could be